nowadays costs are ballooning, and we have a very competitive kind of market for every niche, and customer uh, attention span has become really limited. So in that case, getting to know people, uh, getting people to actually buy from you or become a member of your community is something which has to be rethought. Okay, so let us move to the main part. And okay, so here's what we will first lead with: our vision, mission, and our values. So we enable brands and startups to resonate with their audiences affordably and efficiently. Okay. Our mission is to apply branding, digital e-commerce, and design capabilities to enable startups and brands to develop world-class skills and abilities and meet their consumers' needs efficiently. And integrity, honesty, cooperation, constant learning, and principled entrepreneurship is what helps us deliver results. So how does this value system work? We start by doing the right thing even if nobody is watching. We depend on each other because we are a team here. We develop ourselves and others by constantly learning. We drive efforts like an entrepreneur because we take accountability of our actions and we learn from our mistakes. All of these help us deliver the results that we commit to our clients. Now moving on to the main topic. Okay, so today we are going to talk about positioning for a brand and how it can help us lower the customer acquisition costs. Okay, like we said that this is an extremely competitive market here, and we have people, we have brands vying for attention, and at the same time customers attention span is getting shorter. So how do we build a stronger connection with them so that it becomes easier for us to onboard our community? Okay,
Shukti, if I can add a
so
few things, Shukti. So, if you
sure,
can go back to the previous chart.
yes,
So, so the primary reason uh, why we're talking about this topic is that most of the customers whom we have, they always talk about putting more and more money. They want more and more ROAS all the time, and
true,
entire money is actually goes behind running campaigns. They want to run campaign. So they basically want to sell the product, which is fine by itself. But what they forget is that consumers don't buy products. Consumer
right,
buy the feeling. The consumer buy the feeling they get by using the product. So, for example, if you want to buy shoes, you can buy any shoes. But the people who buy Nike shoes, they have specific thing in their mind. So you live those values, and those brands are successful in today's world who are able to build that connection, who are able to who when consumer use their product, they feel certain things. Those certain feelings are very important. And if as a brand you are only going behind running more and more campaigns, generating more and more ROAS all the time, only from that point of view, then it is not going to be successful in the long run. And you need to build a brand. You need to position a brand in a niche manner. You need to make your brand for certain people who have certain aspirations, and that's where positioning becomes very important. And why we are talking about this today? Because in the today's market, uh, brands only want sales, but they forget the other important side, which is the brand positioning, or how the brand looks like to their users. And if you don't build your brand, if you don't talk about what the brand is all about, then in the long run you are going to have a lot of challenges. That's why we are talking about. And what we are also talking about is that when you try to build a brand, it is not wastage of money. It is actually going to help you to reduce your customer acquisition cost. And while it is reducing customer acquisition, it is actually going to help you increase your ROAS. So it is unidirectional. But many times brand thinks that if I put money behind building my brand, or if I spend money in terms of positioning and things like that, it is a waste of money. That is not the case.
True, Avinash, very true. And in fact, this is a very important aspect that business owners often forget. And we will actually touch upon it more in the coming LinkedIn live sessions when we also talk about how, performance without actual brand building can actually hamper your revenue growth. So we will come to that later. But for now, we are going to talk about something extremely important, because every brand is built on emotions. Brands are basically feelings. So if you don't pay attention to creating and nurturing that feeling, okay, then in the long run, your brand will suffer and your revenues will also be impacted. Okay. Now, moving on to the main part of the presentation. Now, I have already said that this is a very competitive age that we are living in. Our CAC is continuously rising across sectors. In fact, ad costs, number one, are skyrocketing. So if you have a brand and you have been running campaigns, marketers or business owners will know this, that Google or Meta CPCs are rising sharply every year. Okay, and on top of that, conversion rates are falling. Okay, average web through conversion rates across industries are just at 2 to 3% now. The content glut is very real, because we are bombarded with content across all channels and people just don't know where to look or what to keep in mind. Okay, and the throat cut competition, this it actually demands that you keep spending more to actually gain more visibility, but then that is something which will come with limits. Okay. Similarly, when everything is getting harder, the sales cycles are getting longer. Okay. B2B purchase decisions, according to studies, now involve an average of 6 to 10 decision makers, which is very, very long. Okay. So we need to make sure that we create the best impression, our messaging get across, and people who we target, our target audiences, they do understand what is it they're buying into when they associate with us. Okay. And another extremely important thing, with India especially becoming a booming market for everything, now brands are so focused on acquisition and getting new customers, they are often neglecting their existing base. Retention is getting ignored, and this in turn is creating its own set of problems, and ultimately all of that goes into creating a crisis for your brand in the long run. Okay, so this is what the situation is like. Okay,
In fact,
and
Shakti, in
what,
fact,
yeah,
if you look at if you go to previous chart, see today if you look at two different ads from two different brands, if you just remove the logo and interchange the logo, that
right,
works. That works
exactly.
because every other ad is saying 20% discount, 30% discount, 50% discount, okay, and things like that. Nobody is willing to talk about why should the customer buy that brand. Okay, every other campaign is like that. So so now the ad costs are rising because there is nothing. Customer is only getting bombarded with discounts. And it is partly due to the kind of marketplace we are seeing today, that the marketplace like Amazon and Flipkart and all these guys built their business model around discounts, and you go to this platform because you are going to get discount, and discount is there all through the year. Now what has happened is that the discount used to be a factor before. It used to differentiate before, but it is no longer. A few days back I was reading about the story of Uniqlo. So Uniqlo, when they launched in India, they decided they will not list on Amazon and Flipkart and Myntra and all these platforms. And they have done phenomenally well. 5 years their turnover is almost 2000 CR. which is phenomenal for a from a premium brand like Uniqlo. And But they are doing phenomenally well because they're focusing on who they are and what they do, just the way they do in other markets. But Indian brands are forgetting that the edge, the edge they used to have there is no longer there. Everybody is focusing on how much discount I can offer. Brands have started launching different ranges for discount season. Now, all that is okay, all that is okay, but if you really want to build long-term sustainable brand story, you need to work on your brand.
Absolutely. You need to. And in fact, when everyone is entered the pricing war, okay, you have to think of it this way. Your customer has a finite amount to spend. Okay? There will always be someone who will offer at least 100 rupees less than what you are offering. So the customer will go there. In order to compete with that, if you keep lowering prices, then it's just a mutual race to the bottom. Ultimately, you might as well just give things out for free because it is eating away at your bottom line. So this is not sustainable. Okay. Now, why does CAC spike? This is something which we also have to understand. Number one, a lot of brands, like Avinash said, if you remove the logo from one ad and run it in another name, you probably won't even notice because everyone almost feels the same. And the reason for that is that a lot of brands just don't know who to target. A lot of brands just say that, okay, we want to talk to everyone from 18 to 54. This is our target audience. That just cannot be. You have to define and you have to niche down. A brand which tries to talk to everyone actually ends up convincing no one. Okay. Then we have generic messaging, another offshoot of this same problem. This is without differentiation, it is flat. People think that we'll stick on some sort of discount button on it and that will do the job. It is not enough. Okay. Competing on price by default, same problem. Okay. You just cannot keep doing it and chasing channels before clarifying the message. Everyone seems to go with the trend that what is my competitor doing, I will do. But before I get into that, what am I saying? Am I saying something different than my competitor? Am I actually saying something which is memorable? Am I doing something which is right? Who am I talking to? They don't think about these things and they just go and do what everyone else is doing. We have encountered clients who have been very keen on doing influencer marketing. If you ask them why, our competitors are doing it, okay, fine, but what has their strategy been? What has their revenue been like? What has the returns been for them like? They don't know. What kind of influencer will you target based on your brand and your messaging? We don't know. So that is where this whole thing just falls apart. And no attention to building brand equity. People just have stopped thinking about the long term. They think that this quarter, this year is all that matters. No, you have to think beyond that and you have to keep your vision, straight towards that end goal so that you know the right decisions to take in order to reach there. Okay. And you must make sure that for that in order to reach that destination, okay, you have to make sure that your roadmap is clear and that roadmap starts with positioning your brand right. Okay.
In fact, Shakti, what has happened is that with internet being there, earlier there used to be a brand, city-specific brand, state-specific brand, region-specific brands.
True.
Now with internet, everybody thinks that entire India is their market. So everybody is the customer because everybody has from a pan wala to the to the billionaire. Everybody has a phone, so everybody is a customer. From a 15, 13-year-old to 85-year-old, everybody has a phone, so everybody is a customer. But that's not the case. So this thinking that now we can talk to everyone. It is just about putting money on Meta or Google, and the sales will start rolling. It doesn't work like that. And especially for new brands, because what happens that established brands have some brand loyalty also to an extent. Okay, people know about the brand. They at
True.
least they are so that is okay with them. But new brands, I have seen new brands starting, and you ask them who is your customer. Everybody, everybody buys this, and that's a common answer. That's a common answer you get. They have created a product. They have never thought who's going to be the customer. They have never thought why the customer will buy the product. The customer will buy the product because I have got the product. So customer will buy the product. That's the only logic.
True. And I think another very common thing we hear is that my product is great. I'm sure like everyone has a good product out there, but then what beyond the product are you selling? What perception are you building up? What feelings you are, engaging? That matters equally. And that is something which most people just don't pay attention to. Okay. So,
Shruti, a few days back, a very large client, a public listed company, for whom we are doing corporate branding. So we did the entire work for over months. The CEO was directly involved, and we painstakingly created everything. And then he said that let me sleep over it, and allow me a month, and then I will come back. After 1 month, he is no longer talking. Some other people from the team are talking. They are saying, I don't care about brand archetype, your color scheme, and all that. I don't care about all that. Just give me a logo. Just give me a logo, and so that I can print it on my envelope and letterhead, and your job is done. Now, even today, such things are happening. Now, you will see in this presentation that why it is very important to have a specific brand identity and a specific brand positioning, and why differentiation and relevance are so important.
true. Very true. So, taking from that, what is positioning and what is the connection with CAC? Okay, first of all, your positioning is what is the unique niche that you occupy in the market. How do you differentiate yourselves from your competitors in the market? What is that very distinct perception that you have created for your brand in which people get invested instead of turning to your competitor? Okay, so positioning is basically your key to this question, that why should someone buy from me and not from them? Okay, and you have to clarify that. Okay, because unclear positioning leads to talking to the wrong or broad audience, which leads to wasted spend, and then you kind of inflate your CAC. Okay, it will happen if you're talking to, just imagine you are talking to a whole crowd. 50% of them are not even interested in you, so they'll just drift off. So then in the end you are just talking to 50% of them, out of whom again many people, they feel that your prices are too high, and then they go. Then you're left with some 20 people, but these are the 20 people who will actually buy from you. But in order to talk to the 100 people who were there initially, you booked a larger hall. Okay, so that actually cost you much more. Instead of that, if you had known that these are the people, these are the types of people who probably would respond to me more, you could have saved a lot of trouble, money and energy. That is exactly what happens when you don't have a clear positioning for your brand. Your messaging gets diluted and your efforts kind of go everywhere. Targeting is gone. Okay,
Not only
brands
that,
with
Shruti, not
strong
only that.
positioning.
When you
Yes.
when you when you just imagine that you, like your hall example, you hire you made you rented a big hall, and only 20% is filled,
Right.
and 80% is empty. This 20% also think that it must not be a good brand because the entire hall is empty.
True.
So your current
Yeah.
customer, so when you just keep on saying discount, 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 your current customer who has been buying from you is like, this is a discounted brand. Who wants to sport a discounted product? Okay, so that's a it's a it's a double-edged sword actually. So it's important to know that who your customer is, or who probably is going to buy the product, and talk to them only. And today's
True.
platforms allow you to do that. You can cut the audiences, you can segment them, dice them, and then decide whom you're talking to. And when you go and talk to those people with a specific message which resonate with them, the connection is built.
True, absolutely true. And brands, this is actually proven to an extent. Brands with strong positioning and equity, they command price premiums of 20% or more over undifferentiated competitors in the same category. Okay, see, we'll give a very well known example here. Okay, a lot of really expensive bags, okay, brands which sell bags, their products are actually made in uh, workshops or factories in countries like India or Bangladesh and all. So with, even when the products are good and everything, if you just take that logo out of those bags and you try to sell them, you'll probably get like 1,000 rupees for a bag. Okay, but you put that logo on and immediately you can sell it for 10,000 rupees. So this is what happens when your people are not buying just that bag, they are buying the prestige that comes with the logo. When you actually go out with a bag with a Chanel logo on it, it says something about you, that you have made it, that you are exclusive, that you have, you come from a very distinguished background probably. That is what matters to them. Okay, when you have built up your brand, strong positioning, good brand, that can help you actually command price premiums, which of course leads to better revenue. Okay, and again, that is not all. Shared values play a very big part in this. Okay, like we said, brands are feelings. People, when they buy something, they don't just buy a product, they want to buy that feeling, they buy into that feeling that that product or that brand generates with them. Okay, the reason why a lot of people just stick to Nike when it comes to athletic gear and other things is that Nike has built up that perception that they are the brand that helps you be your best. It's very inspirational, it motivates, and it's inclusive, it's everything. Okay, it kind of represents some sort of goodness, and that is why these kind of values that they endorse, and they always talk about them in their ads. Nike ads are extremely emotional and they are very, very well crafted. Consumers actually respond to them. Okay, these values play a big role, and your messaging, your positioning should reflect these values. Companies with, and now when you have your positioning clarified, you can make sure that everywhere throughout the ages, whatever you say becomes more clear, more pointed and consistent. And companies with clearly defined and consistently communicated positioning grow revenue 33% faster. Okay, most importantly, referrals, the direct output of strong brand positioning, have a 16% higher lifetime value than leads acquired through other channels. If I am satisfied with a product and I am really invested in it, okay, if I, you know, I will say for myself, I am a Nike fan, so I always buy Nike. If somebody asks me what is the shoe that you that I should buy to go running, I would say go buy Nike. Okay, Nike is not spending a single dollar on me in this case, but indirectly I have become their brand spokesperson, and that is giving them a separate customer base. All that they had to do is hook me in emotionally, and that hooking in emotionally comes with that clear positioning that they have been iterating through the ages. Okay, so pay attention to positioning, that emotional connect that you form with your audiences, that clarity of thought that you provide them, the reason that you give them for investing in you, that can help you cut down on your costs.
In fact, Shakti, the referral thing you talked about, or the word of mouth, this is only
Exactly.
it only happens for brands. It only happens for
True.
brand that stand for something. If you only stand for discount and you are known for discount, which customer is going to refer to somebody else saying that okay, buy this brand? So, this is something which is extremely powerful, that that people want to be seen with brands which uh, which uh, which generates specific kind of feeling in their mind. And that's why it is very very important that you actually work on that and not only just worry about discounts and customer acquisition costs and things like that.
Yeah, that is very important. And before you get into clarifying your positioning, you have to have clarity about what is brand positioning and what it isn't. It is not a tagline or slogan, though your slogan or your tagline or your logo or your everything actually will reflect that positioning, but it is not equal to that. Okay. Now, a positioning is actually a declaration of the unique space your brand owns in the customer's mind. Okay, a lot of things go into it. Differentiation, the emotional aspect of it, the heritage that you're invoking, a lot of things go into it. This is unique and something just for you. Okay, and you have to find out that space. For example, in case of Nike, there are other sports brands as well. Nike says that our motto is that we are empowering every athlete in the world. And who's an athlete? If you have an if you have a body, even if it has parts missing, you are an athlete. Okay, and the tagline "Just Do It" is manifestation of that positioning. Okay, they're empowering people and they're telling you, here is, we are with you, just go ahead and do it, strive towards your goals. Then comes the logo or visual identity, same thing. Your positioning is actually an articulation of who you serve. A positioning statement always defines the target audience, the brand's offering, okay, the problem it solves, and why you are different and why people should trust you. All of these go into a positioning statement, and it can manifest in other ways. Apple says that, Apple's logo is a very good example of this evolution of the brand. Okay, Apple is all for making things personal again, and all about giving you the best of technology, and the logo keeps evolving while the positioning remains the same. Positioning is also not an ad campaign, though an ad campaign can interpret the positioning. Okay, positioning is long term, it's like an anchor, and this positioning informs all business decision from product to pricing to channel selection, and even your relationship with your suppliers or your partners. Okay, an ad campaign, it is not the end all be all for your brand. After 6 months you'll probably launch another campaign, but your positioning remains the same. Okay, think of it, Sprite's positioning is always about clarity, and according to that they have interpreted this concept across their ad campaigns. Clear hai, bujha hai bas pyas, baki all bakwas and other things. Okay, but the thing is, Sprite always has banked on clarity, and it has always found different ways to get the point across. Positioning is again not something which is just limited to the marketing team. Like, it's not that they pick up your brand book, they look at it, and then they say that, okay fine, this is for me. No, positioning actually permeates through every aspect of the business. Okay, so it has to align with sales, product, marketing, customer service, your leadership decision, your company values, everything. Okay, good example, Patagonia is an outdoor brand, and Patagonia says that we are putting the planet first. Okay, with that in mind, Patagonia actually created a trust and said that this company is actually owned by planet Earth, and all proceeds will go towards sustainable initiatives, recycling and other practices, and we are never going to do anything which will harm the planet. Okay, accordingly they actively support causes, political leanings and everything which align with their positioning. Okay,
And Shakti, one more thing you
now,
can add to the previous
yeah,
thing is the
yes,
is this that the entire organization should carry that positioning. So the perspective here is that you talked about salespeople and other thing, but actually I think the employees actually uh, carry the brand all the time. So not only the marketing folks, but other people also should understand. You know, like for example, support services, sales guys, all these people should understand what the brand is all about. Because most of the time these are the people who come in contact with the customer when something is not quite right, and that's the point. That's the time when you want to build the brand. So that is another thing which we might have to talk about here is beyond this. Uh, is the people are apart from the marketing team also, they also carry it.
Absolutely. Actually, your positioning is something which has to be lived, not just by the marketing team, by the leaders, by other members of your team and everyone. Okay, it will permeate every part of your business. What kind of decisions you take, where you put your efforts, how you go about with acquisitions or other important decisions, everything will be informed by this positioning. Okay, so you have to live this positioning, you have to live up to these values that you are articulating there, and that is how you build the brand. Okay, that is where the emotional quotient comes in. A very good example of the employee part is Tata. Okay, everyone knows how good Tata is, and Tata is known for taking care of its employees, and in turn employees who work with Tata rarely leave that company. So that is actually, the brand embracing its values and positioning and living it, implementing it, and making its people live it to such an extent that it becomes a living, breathing whole. Okay, it becomes an entire ecosystem in its own. Okay. Now, positioning is not actually saying you're the best, because there is no brand in the world who will say we are second best. Okay, so you have to say that why is it that you are the specific choice in any situation. Okay, it has to be meaningful, it has to be a specific point, it has to be differentiating. Okay, and the audience that you choose for communicating also has to be very, very specific. Again, you cannot talk to everyone. There is absolutely no brand in the entire world which talks to everyone and works for them. Okay, so whenever you are making a claim, make sure that you can back it up. Okay. One example, Amul says that it is the taste of India. In case of Amul, this is extremely defensible. We don't know since when Amul butter has been in our home. Okay, and apart from there, everywhere you look, any milk product in India, milk or anything related to milk has to be with Amul. So in that case, Amul, when it says that we are the taste of India, yes, that makes sense. I cannot go and say that my local dairy is, unanimous with the taste of India. That doesn't work. If you cannot defend that positioning, then no. So just don't go and say that we are number one, we are the best. It doesn't work. Then we have the one time exercise thing. People think that once we create one such statement, that's it. Okay. The positioning consistently has to be audited and updated as needed. Okay, as you expand, as time goes by, the world actually is changing. Your brand is also a living asset. It will also change, it will acquire new associations, its target audiences change, their values change, the demands of the lifestyles change. So how are you fitting into this whole changing landscape? For that, you have to keep evolving your positioning. Very good example is Old Spice. It started with this old school idea of very honorable masculinity. It talked about, sailors and the nautical code of honor and things like that. Today, Old Spice is so funny and irreverent. It pokes fun at the idea of toxic, rigid masculinity. It is a very positive form of masculinity. It's still about masculinity, but in a very, very different way. Okay? So that is also something which we have to keep in mind. And it is not just for established brands, because if that is the case, then no brand is going to survive. Okay, if you want to get your foothold in the market and if you want to grow, you have to build your foundation right. It is for everyone, right from the startup to the who's who, like Apple or Nike or something like that. Okay. Single most important tenet that a startup should invest in figuring out is its positioning, because otherwise it is going to get lost in the crowd. One good example here is Dollar Shave Club. Dollar Shave Club kind of came into existence around, they became big roughly 10 years ago. Okay, so they came across as that, we don't have anything fancy, but if you have to shave, these are the basic things that you need, and we are doing that pretty well. That's it. It managed to challenge Gillette with this no nonsense kind of very funny, irreverent, everyman kind of appeal. Okay, and it created a clear niche and following in the market. Today, Dollar Shave Club is something which is extremely distinct, and it has a dedicated follower base which keeps going back to it. Okay? So that is the power of good positioning. When you clarify it and when you consistently iterate it, you are setting up the foundation for creating a really strong brand which will endure through the ages. Okay. Now, when we talk about positioning and reducing CAC, okay, what is it that we are talking about? What Brandloom believe is that we start with clarifying our target audiences first. Okay. For that, create precise ideal customer profiles or ICPs. Go beyond basic demographics. Just because your brand says that we are Swadeshi or something, it is not going to appeal to every Indian. Beyond demographics, look at the psychographics. What kind of people will probably find it appealing? The values that your brand stands for. What are the people who share those same values? And accordingly, you have to create this profile. Identify not just who buys, but who buys quickly, repeatedly, and refers others, because this is a very, very important audience segment. These are people who will stay loyal to you. You need to nurture them. And like we said, don't neglect retention in favor of acquisition, because infinitely you cannot keep prospecting. You build a base and keep nurturing them also. And understand where your ICP is paying attention. Are they on apps? Are they on Facebook? Are they on Instagram? Do they prefer to actually go outdoors and interact with people? All of these matters. You have to understand their engagement and buying behavior if you want to resonate with them. Okay. Then comes the differentiation. With regards to your competitors, where do you stand? First of all, functionality. What do you do better? If Complan says that you have to drink Complan to get, to get bigger. Okay. Then Horlicks comes and says that our whatever we have is like more wholesome and kind of rounded. So with us, you get taller, sharper, stronger. Okay. So that is one. Emotional. How do you make customers feel? Not right away, but then earlier, the kind of brand that Jaguar used to be. Okay, it was the brand which had a lot of thrill, a lot of edge and sexiness to it. Contrast that with Mercedes, which was its very strong rival, and Mercedes was more elegant and refined. Okay, so for the same price, two very good products, but two with very, very different emotional appeal. That matters. Okay, and experiential. How do you deliver differently? Okay, so the kind of experience people will probably have with an Apple phone probably will be very different from what they will have with some other phone. So all these things matter. Think of every aspect of your product or service and how you are different from your competitors, and iterate that very honestly. And for this, you need to be honest with your competitor audit. You have to understand what they are doing good, where they are lacking, and with regards to that, where do you stand? Okay, and manifest it in messaging. Remember this: it is best not to challenge your established competitor in their core competence. Okay, nobody goes and challenges Nike by saying that we make better sports shoes. It's a fool's errand. So understand where you stand and understand what is the niche that you can occupy. Now, proof backed value proposition. This is where the defensibility comes in. Okay. So, here you have to talk more about the benefits, not just your features. For example, if you have a supplement brand, and in that brand that you say that everything here is, vegetarian. Okay, vegetarian is the feature. What is the benefit? Probably a vegetarian product is going to appeal to people who are trying to make more conscious choices, okay, and people who have some other principles. So vegetarianism is a feature, and the benefit is something, the satisfaction people derive when they choose that, and you have to say that. Okay. Then you have to talk about measurable outcomes that matter. What does that mean? This means that you have a cleaner supplement, okay, and it probably does not have a lot of additives. It is probably lighter on your gut. So all these things matter, and you have to understand this full cycle and explain it properly. Then comes providing social proof and delivering on values and promises as a company. I think this is a no-brainer. When you perform well, a brand is a promise which has to be kept. So the customer must get that feeling of satisfaction, and you, whatever promise you are keeping in terms of your company goals, your business goals, or whatever solutions you are promising your customers with your mission, vision, and whatever, you should keep that. And consistent messaging, because your positioning statement sits at the very middle of your brand narrative. It is the thing around which your entire brand story is built. And then you figure out channel wise how do you communicate that. So you create your frameworks accordingly, and make sure that this thing permeates through your company across all teams. It aligns with your sales, marketing, leadership, communication everywhere. Okay. Make sure that there is a clear, consistent messaging, tone, and voice. You may have some very important values and all, but you cannot sound very funny and jokey at one moment and next moment you sound very serious. It doesn't happen like that. Your positioning should be consistent, so should your brand's personality be consistent. Okay. Now, target audience clarity. Creating an ICP. Go beyond demographics. Like we said, identify trigger events. When is it that the customer is most likely to engage with you? Figure that out. Okay? And then you talk accordingly. Okay? Map full decision unit. Who are the people who plays a role in making sure that your customer buys? They will be influenced by someone. They may be influenced by their peers, by their family, by their friends, or some sort of idol that they have. Find the lowest CAC segment. These are the people who convert the fastest and stay the longest with you. They are also most likely to talk about you and become your biggest brand supporters. And add layers to that, including values, including aspirations, risk tolerance, and then align them with your firm's principle or your company's principles. Okay. What this gets: improves ad relevance scores because your messaging is very pointed, attracts warmer inbound leads, shortens your sales cycles, and generates organic reference. Okay. So definitely create your consumer personas first.
Actually, this is the often the most ignored part. Thinking of the
Yeah.
customer persona. And once you start to think, look at this framework, you start to think like this. Even if you are not 100% accurate, you will become more and more accurate as you go along. In marketing, one thing which is often ignored is hypothesis. Saying that, you know, what, what, who is it, say for example, who is the target audience? And if you don't know, you don't have any consumer research, you don't have any idea. Just build hypothesis. Once you start to move in the market, you can prove or disprove them. And that's the best way to find out what you should be doing. So this is often the most ignored part, but the most important part. This is the foundation.
True.
Many brands fail because they don't get it right. Many brands fail because they don't get
Absolutely.
it right.
Unless, Yeah, unless you know who you are talking to, who you should be talking to, you really cannot get your message across.
Yeah.
Now, coming out to the differentiation part. Okay, if you want to connect with people, you have to tell them why they should talk to you and not your competitor. So you have to map your competitors honestly. Where are they strong? What are their weak points? Understand that and find this gap. What is that thing that nobody is talking about? What is that niche which is still there for you to occupy? Okay, this lies at the intersection and at like the blind spot of every competitor. You have to find that, and you need professional guidance to do that. Okay, so talk to a good marketing agency who can help you out there. Choose the defensible differences. Just because a niche exists doesn't mean that you can occupy it. Okay, you have to make sure that your brand's culture, your heritage, your expertise, your process, all of that aligns in that niche. If there is one thing that you cannot defend when you occupy that niche, then it is not going to work. Like I said, our local dairy cannot say that they are about the taste of India. That is an indefensible position. Okay, then make it specific. The more specific your messaging is, the better it lands. Okay, keep it very simple, direct and focused. If your claims or your positioning comes with footnotes, it is not going to work. You just get a very short time and space to communicate your value proposition, so make it count and reinforce your claims. Okay, back it up with concrete proof, with case studies, with testimonials and everything, and not generic fluff. So, functional differentiation, emotional differentiation, experiential differentiation, niche differentiation, values based differentiation, all are equally important, and you need to find out where you stand with regards to them. Okay, what you do better than the competitors, emotionally, what emotions you are invoking, which is different. Experiential, how do people experience your brand, which is different from what they can expect from competitors. Niche differentiation, the niche that you occupy has to be different from what your competitors are about. And then values based differentiation, what you stand for, that has to be very, very specific. Okay, then build a value proposition that converts. So how do you do that? Use specific case studies. Okay, that we reduce the CAC by 34% in 6 months. Just an example. Okay, so this gives people data and numbers to actually see what your claims are about. Match proof to category. Okay, look at the industry for relevance and credibility. What kind of proof points work in your industry? That is something which you have to figure out. Let third parties validate, whether it is influencers or independent reviewers or your customers. Get awards, go for press mentions, client testimonials, so that your positioning, your brand is validated. And show your process, extremely important. Customers, especially millennials and Gen Z, are very, very into this. They want to know how you operate as a business, what are your methods, because this tells them whether the method you're following is actually good or not. A good method signals that the product or the service that is the result of this process is probably more trustworthy. Okay, and benchmark your results. This is going to be very, very important. Figure out what is the industry average and then compare yourself against it. Be very clear about where you stand in this cycle. Okay, a new brand will never match up to a very established brand with a large consumer base, and that's okay. You build up, but the thing is, you have to make sure that in your maturity level you are in the right direction, and accordingly you know where to tweak so that you can actually meet those benchmarks. Differentiate to stand out and connect. Okay, think of your positioning statement as a route, and all the other things that you do, your sales, your social media, your public relations exercises, all of them take from that. Okay, but they iterate the same central message. Okay, build a hierarchy. Okay, cascade from central statement down to audience and platform specifics. So you know how to iterate when you are on YouTube, should know how to do it on Facebook, on your website, or on a newspaper ad, and understand which channels are your priority and which come after that. Create a messaging document. Okay, create this playbook, define your specific messaging substance. Just don't give a visual brand guidelines. It is very important. Your brand book is more than just giving you versions of your logo. It should talk about what kind of voice you should use, what is the central messaging, how to iterate that, what words to use to best communicate that, what words to avoid, and everything. Okay? Brief every customer facing team. This is what Avinash was talking about. Your employees have to be there, and it is more than your sales reps. Okay, your customer success managers, people who are just there in your store, your leadership at every touch point, employees who are interacting with your customers, they have to understand that and act accordingly. Okay, so create this core messaging foundation and adapt expression, never essence, which means the central messaging remains the same and you interpret it according to different platforms. The way you put out your message on LinkedIn will be very different from what you are putting out on Instagram. Okay, shift the platform but never the foundational message. So what does this give you? It gives you better and faster brand recognition, higher organic engagement. People get hooked to brands which sound like them, which relate to them, and that is how they engage with you. Premium pricing power, which we have already explained earlier. And when everything builds up and your brands become very recognizable and people can recall it faster and they are emotionally invested with it, then you close sales faster too. Okay, now here is an example of our positioning statement. We are not going to say which clients these are, but the first one was a fire protection company located in Bombay. So here they say, we empower corporate players and individuals with the knowledge, strategies and equipment they need to protect their properties and homes from fire damage. So clearly they explain who is the target audience, what is it that they offer. Okay, unlike other firefighting solutions providers, we instill confidence in our customers with end-to-end planning so that they are prepared to tackle emergencies efficiently. Okay, then they differentiate, okay, that we are about instilling that confidence because we are preparing you on every front so that in case of emergencies you know what to do. Okay, and that preparedness of course will pay off if there is an emergency like fire. Then we have a SaaS company who said that we help change makers, companies or enterprises who are creating something good, okay, who want to change the world with their technology solutions to achieve or experience, make it a better place to live. Unlike other custom software development companies, our solutions are delivered on time, built with cutting edge technology for security and compliance that stand the test of time. So everything is neatly laid out. And when we worked with this brand, we kept iterating this central positioning across all channels. Their social posts were made according to that, so were their ads, so were their emails, and on their website also.
One thing I want to point out here, Shruti, is that having a positioning statement is very, very important. But it is even more important that you deploy it within the organization so that
Yeah,
people understand what you believe in. If you have a positioning statement, do talk about it more often so that people can learn, because people tend to forget. People tend to forget. But if you're serious about your brand, then you have to share those ethos every now and then. If you don't, then what will happen? People will forget it tomorrow, and when they forget, they will drift in different directions, and you will lose your brand coherence. So it is very important you talk about it very, very often, more regularly, so that people relate with it, people understand what it is, and things like that.
true. Very true. So, how do we start? Okay. Ask these 6 questions. Can you describe your ideal customer in one specific paragraph beyond job title and industry? What are they like? Okay. What do they relate to? What are their likes, dislikes? What is their behavior? What are their aspirations, pain points? Think about this. Can your sales team and marketing teams describe your brand position in the same words? If they don't, then you need a positioning statement, and like Avinash said, you need to keep repeating it. Okay, brands are built on consistency. If you remove your logo from your website or any other collaterals, would anyone know it was you? If it sounds interchangeable like those ads that Avinash talked about in the beginning of this presentation, then you actually don't have a positioning, or it is not working out. Okay? What is that one thing you do better than everyone else? And you can prove it with data. This is the defensible part of your positioning. I have the largest network. Can I show that? I am the best solution. Can you prove that? Okay. All these things matter. Does your messaging say the same essential thing across your ads and other channels? Consistency is extremely important. Okay. And one brand which is very consistent in this regard is like Nike. Another, any good brand which immediately come to your mind. Tata, Nike, they follow this. They are very consistent. They never act out of character. Okay? And when a prospect chooses a competitor over you, do you know exactly why? And is it a positioning reason? Are they going with your competitor because somehow they have a better product, or they are giving more discounts, or their messaging is resonating with them more? Think about it. Ask yourself and involve your team. Ask these 6 questions and see what is the result. You may be surprised by the result. Okay? And if you don't have a positioning statement, it's time you start looking at it. Now, red flags. Number 1, don't target everyone. Broad audience profiles, they don't work. Lock down your ICP. Okay? Don't lead with features. People don't want to know how, what GB RAM you have. They want to know, for them, what is the benefit. Does this mean that they can go on non-stop gaming for 15 hours or not? Okay. Consistent messaging. Dramatically different talking styles or messages across platforms will make your brand look like it has a split personality. Clarify your brand guidelines, tones and personality, and stick to that. Make sure you sound the same. Copying competitors, this turns you into a Me Too brand. Okay, this is not different. It does not give you your own niche to occupy. Okay, you get lost. Figure out your own white space. Don't reposition too frequently, because then you dilute impact and you make the brand sound inconsistent. Experiment with feel and tone. Try to interpret your positioning in different ways, but don't change the core messaging too often. Awareness without positioning doesn't get you anything. Okay, you cannot just keep investing in campaigns without clarifying your positioning, because you will effectively end up wasting your ad spend. You are not getting any message across which is sticking to audiences. So clarify positioning first, and don't make claims without proof. Bold statements like India's leading something, best in class, with no evidence attached, this does not get you anywhere. This just makes you sound like you are just saying things for the heck of it. Attach a specific proof point, a number, an award, a case study, a client name, something like that. Okay, proof it. And now our 5-step positioning framework. Number 1, research. Okay, so here you need to understand
Shakti, we have crossed
who
time.
are your
We have crossed time.
yes,
So
I know that. Yeah, I am closing down soon. This is the last slide actually. So look at customer interviews, get surveys, win-loss analysis, competitor audit, internal team survey, and look at the clear picture of where you stand and where the gaps are. Then we have defining the audience. Define your ICP, know your primary differentiator, know your value statement, okay, and then give them a reason to believe and create a positioning statement. This is the strategic foundation of everything else is built on. Okay, then create your value proposition. create the messaging hierarchy, the brand narrative, look for channels that you will be on, and create guidelines accordingly. Okay, so this is actually tailoring your message into the language your customer actually responds to. Then align everything, brief all customer facing team within the organization, talk to everyone, update every touch point, keep messaging it, and build messaging governance. Okay, one consistent brand experience and values across every channel and function is what you are aiming for. Everyone should live the same principle. And then keep measuring, keep tracking your CAC, your conversion rates, your sales cycle length, brand recall, referral rate. All of this gives you a good idea about how much of it is working, whether you're in the right direction or not. Okay, and then you know where to course correct. Okay, so that is our 5-step positioning framework, and that brings us to the end of this presentation. So we look forward to questions if you have any. Right. So I think we don't have any questions for this one right away. So in that case, I think it has been very good, at least on our part. And as we said, that we are also going to talk about, when we talk about customer acquisition cost, we are going to talk about how performance, without empty performance metrics, how much they will affect your brand and how that is not good for your revenue. Okay, so thank you for coming to our LinkedIn live session, and we will meet again next time. Okay, bye.
Thank you everyone. Bye bye.